3, 2, 1.
So why am I dressed up this way? Usually I'm a little more dressed for a Sunday celebration. Well, that's because we're going to get to work today. We're going to do some work today. Like I said earlier, my talk title is Preparing for Your Greatness. And in preparing for your greatness, we need to use some tools. Now, we don't have to necessarily go anywhere to get these tools. They're right here, right now, but we're going to use some tools. So the first thing I want to do is tell you a little story. This fellow had been shipwrecked alone on a deserted island for decades. And he finally was rescued by a passing ship. And the ship's captain comes on to the island and tells him, gather all that you want to take back with you. And if you will, if you'd let me, I would love to follow you around. I want to see how you've been living all these years, decades, right? How long? So they start walking around and the guy's collecting his things and they pass various huts. And the man tells the captain, well, this is where I slept, and this is where I cooked, and this is where I kept my supplies, so they would stay dry. And they finally come to these two very well-built structures. And the captain says, so what did you do in that one? Oh, the man says with pride, that's the church I built. Though I lost track of what day was Sunday, I made sure and I prayed there once a week. Wow, that's cool. That's great, says the captain. He says, but it looks identical to that other building over there. What's that building? And the man said with a sneer, oh, that's the church I used to go to. Church is a tool. Now, the word church kind of gets lost in the more spiritual world of philosophy and this teaching. But church is a tool. Church is just a building that people attend religious or spiritual services at. You can call anything a church. It's a place where people will commune together with the divine. It's a community. Church is a community of like-minded people. And it's a place where people learn the teaching that they're enjoying. You're at church right now. Church doesn't have to be a Christian thing, just like temple doesn't have to be a Jewish thing or mosque an Islamic thing. Church is a tool, and today I'm going to talk about tools, and I'm dressed to work with tools. Like I said, the theme of the month is preparation. How do we prepare for the year, the quarter, the month, the week, the day, the very moments of our life? How do we prepare for those? So today we're going to explore how to prepare for our greatness and the great experiences that we're going to have. Now, for that, we need tools, right? Mental tools, spiritual tools, activation, physical tools. Now, one of our built-in tools I talk about a lot is actually a whole toolbox in itself, and it adds up to us working with our consciousness and our intelligence, the various intelligences we have. And that is what I have decided to call the divine matrix. And this is not just some spiritual thing. There are books that have been written about this, and it's in medical journals, etc. So the mind, or the brain, the heart, and the gut, they all have brains. The head, the heart, the gut, they all have brains, and they all talk to each other, right? So let's start with the one in your head, the cephalic brain. Now, what does that do? You probably already know. It analyzes information and applies logic, right? There are 86 billion, I'm sure that's an estimate, there's probably much more, neurons going on at the same time. It's where the synapses and the electrical impulses and the hormones start talking to each other in that head brain. And the head brain also gives you the ability to identify patterns and make sense of the world, right? Everybody knows what the head brain mostly does. And they continually discover more and more about what the head brain does. Now, the cardiac brain, obviously cardiac in the heart, senses the world through emotion and feelings, right? And we know the difference between emotions and feelings. There are 39 million neurons going on in your heart brain at the same time. And the heart brain also generates the largest electromagnetic field in the whole body. There is energy flowing out of your heart at all times. And it sends as many messages to the head brain as it receives. So this is back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Your feelings talk to your brain, and your emotions talk to your heart, and back and forth, and information going back and forth. Researchers in the field of energy cardiology have discovered that your heart creates thinking hormones similar to those in the head brain. So all those hormones going on, this serotonin, et cetera, they're going on in your heart as well. Which brings me to the third section, the enteric system, the gut system. That brain is used for understanding our identity, who we are in the world. That's where our instincts and our intuition come from, that gut feeling. I've explained that before. Now, what's interesting is that there's two nerve centers in your gut, in the gut system, the myenteric and the submucosal. There's approximately 100 million neurons going on in your whole system there, your whole enteric system. It produces 70% of the hormone cortisol. Now, a lot of times we hear about cortisol in a negative way because it's a stress hormone, but that also regulates our metabolism and controls our blood pressure and assists with memory formulation. Cortisol is not necessarily a negative thing. It also, the enteric, the gut system, produces 70% of serotonin. Serotonin is a good neurotransmitter. It's responsible for relaying signals to help you think clearer, to help you be more open and happy, actually. Serotonin helps that. And the gut also helps you process information during sleep. That intuition, that imagination gets stirred up in that system. And when we're using all three at the same time, wow, that's really when as they say, magic happens. Now, sometimes we require adjustments and repairs to our systems, like the state of mind or belief is off kilter a little bit. Things happen in life and we start accepting stupid ideas and junk ideas and things get off kilter, and you can start seeing that in your experience too. You might find that your love for life is not so lovely for a time being, that the joy for existence is not so jolly for the time being, or the inspiration to be alive gets a little lax. Happens to the best of us, to the most of us. We find the state of gratitude a faraway place, and for a time difficult to grasp onto. when that happens, we're not in the groove of our godness. We're not in the vibration of the divine. So what do? That's when it's time to take out our New Thought Toolbox. And those are things I talk about all the time and that you probably know about: affirmations or the affirmative incantations, visualizing, using your imagination. For those of you who are fans of Neville Goddard, he talks about imagination and feelings all the time. Very important, very powerful work. Visioning or listening, just listening to what the universe has to say to you. Asking the universe to speak with you, for you, as you, when you go into the silence, when you go into meditation, or when you use affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment, as we call it in this philosophy. But most go to affirmations first. Now, I have here, excuse me for 1 second as I grab it, I have here my my toolkit from home here, and I'm going to use them as illustrations. So sometimes you take get your affirmations. Now, some people take affirmations and they just try to pound it into their head. They just say these couple of sentences. Usually an affirmation is over and over and over and over again. And sometimes when they do it, it drives it in straight, just like, with a nail. Sometimes it drives it in straight. Sometimes it ends up a little crooked or bent. Sometimes it misses altogether and you just bonk yourself in the head. And those affirmations become, to some degree, useless. And that sucks that you took the time and you use this to try to bang in a new idea. Now, my suggestion would be that you take out first this tape measure and you start appraising where your beliefs are now. You start measuring, well, how much of this do I have and how much of that and how much is it taking in my life? Where we've decided to require them to be. Are they going to be over here? Or maybe all the way over here as well. Then, after you've done that, after you've appraised what's going on, so that you know where to focus or where not to focus, so you know where to focus, then we want to do this. We want to take our screwdriver. Can you see that? The screwdriver. And we want to use it to open up our consciousness so that we can pour in the new ideas, like re-recognizing the greatest power that there is, which is also within us, and recognizing who we are in relation to this great power and unifying ourselves with it. Then, after we open things up so we can get in there, since we got the consciousness open and the and subconscious are available to us now, we want to start the process of taking out the limiting beliefs and letting them just spill out, get rid of. So we got to unscrew them from their attachment to our belief system. So as that starts to happen, then we need either a pair of tongs, or I like this, my vice grips. Because then we can take the vice grips or the pair of tongs or the forceps, if you're in the medical field, and grasp and lift those ideas out of us so that we can go over here to the good ideas, the yummy, yummy good ideas of abundance and prosperity, and grasp those and replace the limiting ones that we've tossed in the trash can over here and put those new ones into our consciousness. And we can use the affirmative incantations as well to fill in the holes and solidify that lock of the new ones into the subconscious and the belief system, this new great positive projection that we are having on life. After all that, then we have to get the screwdriver back out and make sure we, close the consciousness, screw it back in so we can keep that stuff in there and they don't flow out through our ears or wherever, and close the consciousness with this new belief attached to our belief system. And then we can go, shoo, woo, grateful that's locked in there. So finally, then we take our screwdriver and our vice grips and the tape measure that we were using earlier, and we put them back in our toolbox. And as we put it back into our toolbox, then we just let them go. Just release these ideas that are now flowing in through our divine matrix, knowing then that our idea is secure in our consciousness and set up for manifestation into our lives. That's it. That's part of the toolbox. That's how you can use the tools in your toolbox of life together with the tools, the spiritual tools that you use. Now, sometimes old beliefs might leave a mess. So you might want to get a broom or a mop or some sort of scraper to assist in the cleanup and make sure that they're nowhere near you at all, on the floor, ready to attach themselves again, floating around in the air, whatever. And if for some reason, because it can happen, it's happened to me, so it must have happened to you. If for some reason you get a leak in your consciousness and these new ideas of prosperity, health, and vitality, and love, and wisdom, etc., start to seep out, you want to take out the tools and fill in the leak. Possibly do that affirmative incantation that just popped up. Or you can apply some epoxy or fill it with putty. You can fill it with putty. Sometimes things leak. You don't get that, the screw doesn't screw in tight enough because it's been taken out and in and out and in. It's loosened up. So you might need a little putty to fill in some of the holes. Now, our primary putty in our teaching is the spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer I've been talking about and that we just did a few moments ago. It will do the job every time. Every time. Because your faith and your use of your spiritual tools is the divine glue that gives you and your new ideas of life power. In the book, Living the Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes wrote, "Enter into a feeling of assurance that comes from a consciousness of the divine presence in, around, and through you." The basic tools are within you right now. And you don't have to worry about saying them perfectly. You don't have to worry about the words being poetic. You certainly don't need to beg, plead, or push. Because it's not about begging, pleading, or pushing. It's about being and allowing and listening and declaring and revealing. With love, all things are possible. And when we love, our prayers are answered and the gift of heaven is made. The gift of heaven is life and not death, love and not hate, peace and not confusion. That's actually from the Science of Mind book. Spiritual mind treatment is a tool to focus our minds, our hearts, and our gut brains together. All three, that divine matrix. Spiritual mind treatment uses that divine matrix to focus our entire beingness. It's more about feelings, like I said, than words. I know you say words, but what's the feelings behind the words? How does it feel to live, to be, to experience that idea? That's what's going on. How does it smell, taste, feel, sound, and look like this new idea in your life? That's what's important. That's what you want to know. That's what you want to experience in your heart, in your gut, in your mind, so that you experience it in your life. Remember, no one is better than you. No one is worse than you. We're all in this together as one. And the divine is no respecter of persons. The divine and the law respects everyone the same. When you practice these spiritual tools more, you demonstrate what these spiritual tools you are using bring forth into your life. Back to living the science of mind, Dr. Holmes says, between prayers or between affirmative incantations or any of your spiritual practices, to keep your mind poised in such a way that you do not contradict what you have said in your treatment. You want to try, you want to work on, you want to say the words, and here comes that as if kind of thing. You want to say them as if they're not there in fact. Know the truth. Keep saying the truth. Keep living the truth in your mind and your heart and your gut. No matter what you see or hear contradicts what you've said in your treatment. Keep your mind, he says, open at all times to a divine influx of new inspiration, new power, and new life. So what's in your toolbox? It's already there. And it's everything. Absolutely everything that you need. Open it up and use it for your greatest life. Thank you so much. Namaste.